Then it all began. All the municipality processes of rezoning this land, because it was initially zoned as residential 1. So what that means is that only one house per stand at that moment. So I needed to rezone it to residential 2, 3, or 4, depending on how many properties I wanted to put there. So residential 2 allows me to put 8 properties on there. I didn't want to go high rise, but in the area, in that specific street, the municipality had done a whole sort of like a rezoning plan, and it allowed for multiple units, but it's such a beautiful street with high luxury properties. I thought putting multiple sort of apartment style buildings might not do that area justice. So I thought 8 luxury houses, because the neighbors were upwards of 12 million, the majority of the neighbors on that street. So I thought luxury houses is the way to go. So then the hell began. I had to approach the city of Johannesburg with my town planner to make an application for the rezoning. We went through the normal processes. We had to ask the neighbors to comment, object if they have any issues with the rezoning. Generally, it's expected, you know, when you want to develop next to some generally high value properties, people get uncomfortable about that. They worry about the development, the quality of the development, and if it's gonna maybe impact their property values. So we just had to come to a negotiation, and eventually they sort of understood. They understood that we needed to, we were not going to do anything that's going to lower the property values. It was not going to be high density residential where we have 50 plus apartments next to them overlooking and encroaching on their privacy. It was going to be 8 houses, luxury, and they were quite happy with that. And then that chapter ended after a couple of months. We didn't have to go to the tribunal to sort it out, thankfully. And then COVID hit.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious new virus. Coronavirus.
Confirming there that a 38-year-old man has indeed tested positive for coronavirus in South Africa.
The main roads are almost empty. This is one of the strictest lockdowns in the world. Only those in essential services such as hospitals are allowed to go to work.
So during COVID, everything came to a standstill. Everything shut down, but our bond repayments did not shut down. Yes, it did come down a little bit, but we had to deal with what everyone else was dealing with. We were home. We didn't know when we were going to open back up. And then eventually, when the country opened back up, the municipality, basically government workers, were sort of, majority of them, not all of them I imagine, but the municipalities, they were working from home the majority of the time. So 3 days a week, and some municipalities I heard it was 4 days a week, where they were working from home. Now the catch is they are incapacitated, they don't have laptops, they work on desktops. So what do you think happens during those 3 days when they're working from home? Absolutely nothing. Nothing happens during those 3 days. So they're in 2 days a week, and we are restricted from seeing them. So what I had a big problem with was that we were told to make an appointment to see any city officials for any applications that we have pending. But one cannot make an application when there's no one to answer the phone during those hours. And when they are in the office, they're not picking up their phones because they're dealing with whatever backlog hasn't been attended to for 3 days in a week. So it was incredibly difficult. It was a nightmare to get our applications through. So what City of Johannesburg generally took a year to do, ended up being 2 years for us. It was, not only were we doing a rezoning, we had to do a subdivision so that we can have 8 freehold stands as opposed to sectional title or just a single stand with multiple units on it. Because we wanted to sell each individual property and have a situation where people can get their bonds approved, and then we finance the development using other people's bonds. Now it's a difficult model to pull off if it's a sectional title development. So From the day we submitted our application in 2019, towards the end of 2019, when we did get transfer of the property, up until 2022, that's how long it took for us to get our rezoning, our subdivision, as well as all the approvals required for what's called a Section 34(5) certificate. Now, that's a certificate that allows the deeds office to issue multiple title deeds to recognize that there are multiple stands now as opposed to one stand. So we had a nightmare. One of our service providers, an electrical engineer, made a wrong application to the City Power for a connection. So for the scale of our development, we needed to get a mini substation on our property, or 105 kVA capacity to that property to service the 8 houses that will be on there. But our electrical engineer made a wrong application. We paid for that application. City Power didn't pick up the issue with that application. They processed it and even issued us with a compliance certificate that we've complied. But when it was time for them to actually give an approval for the Section 34(5) certificate, that's when the proverbial ish hit the fan. That's when it came to light that the application was all wrong. The capacity provided was entirely wrong. We had to start our application from scratch. Now, please remember that at that time, when this application is going on, we've already spent money to service the stand, to lay the electrical work, to lay the water pipes for the water supply, the sewer pipes, the stormwater reticulation, all to comply with the City of Johannesburg Water Department, as well as the Johannesburg Roads Agency. They have their certain requirements, like a paving on the sidewalk, as well as stormwater reticulation. So we had done all that. We had already spent the money, and we were in the process of constructing the first show unit. And we're now told that our electrical application was all wrong. The capacity we need is much more, and we have to shell out a few 100,000 rand. That put a halt in everything we were doing. We had to channel all our resources to this City Power application that is required in order to unlock 8 title deeds. So we had to shut our site down for a few months because basically we were cash strapped, because the business had to finance that entire development out of our pockets up until the point where we can actually sell these properties. So that was a huge learning curve. There was some serious school fees that we paid. It was a very painful year. 2022 was a painful year. So our site was closed from May 2022 and opened back up in January 2023.
Hello, welcome back. Let's go see what's happening inside. Now, the municipality isn't the only thing we've had to contend with. If you think about weather, neighbors, cash flow, that's just 3 of many things that we've had to deal with. The first thing is that the weather has had our site closed for weeks on end. If you live in Joburg, you know all about January rains. It's been hell for us. And then the second thing is dealing with some not so nice neighbors. We are kind of building an exclusive neighborhood and an exclusive sealed off street. So some neighbors aren't quite happy about a development coming next door to them. I think they think that it'll lower their property values. But wait till they see what's coming up. Ain't no lowering happening here.
So now we are in it. We are going hard. We got our first sale. We have 3 houses that are currently being constructed, and we are hoping for more sales. Now, it's also our opportunity as a new real estate agency. So we have 3 arms to the business, 3 separate businesses basically. An architecture practice that designs these developments, a property development firm that actually builds, and then a real estate arm that sells these units. So each of these businesses are sort of kind of learning and, getting our feet wet. And so the real estate business is pushing hard to get our name out there. We're relatively unknown as a real estate agency, so we're getting our name out there so we can sell out our very first development. It's been an incredible exercise. It's been exhilarating. It's been very thrilling. So 2 businesses coming off the ground, 1 established one, and all working on our very first property development in the heart of Sandton in Bryanston. The pressure has been immense. The sleepless nights have been out of this world. It's been a journey like none other. And you know, it's just one of those situations where it's so painful. It can be brutal, but incredibly satisfying. You know, every time I walk onto that site, every time I drive onto that site and I see these 3 houses coming up, I still get butterflies. I can't even explain it. Maybe somebody who has done something from scratch and seen it materialize can relate. You know, this is a development that I was scribbling in my sketchbook about once upon a time, you know, and then now the site is filled with people. 50 people at any one time. The delivery people, bricklayers, all kinds of service providers, painters, carpenters, just people going in and out. And to just sit there and think, this all started with a sketch while I was watching Netflix or bored at home on a rainy weekend. And now it's what it is. So it's an incredible journey that I would love everyone to come along and have a look at and see. You know, who knows how it's going to end. You know, I have every faith that it's going to end well. I have every faith that it's going to be the catalyst for some major developments in future. But yeah, it's more than anything, it's been a learning curve, and I'm so grateful for that. But I can tell you there were times when I had it. I was saying that this development is cursed and I'm just tired of it. But you know, you get over it because it doesn't rain forever. The tide does turn, you know. So I'm excited. I want you to see how it started. I would love for you to see how it ends. And I would love, more than anything, I would love for it to become the catalyst for many more developments, you know, many more jobs created, and exciting ventures that I never imagined would happen. And this all started with me looking for a house for myself. Yes, I've always had ambitions of being a property developer, but I hadn't planned on it happening at that point in the way that it did. So I look forward to seeing what the future has for these 3 businesses.